the channel, everyone. My name is Aysha if you're new here, and today I wanted to do a little late night girl chat. I'm just in my bedroom. I just finished doing my skincare routine and I'm gonna call it a night very soon, but I wanted to touch on a topic that I have always felt like I wanted to share my input on, my experiences on, but ironically enough have always felt like I would be a fraud talking about it, and that's imposter syndrome. For those of you who don't know what imposter syndrome is, I will give a better definition, but what it is to me is basically the feeling of being inadequate, being not good enough for, the situation that you're currently in, feeling like regardless of your expertise and your experience and all of your achievements, you feel like you're not deserving of them. You feel like a fraud that is waiting to be exposed by people. And yeah, I mean, that's what I define imposter syndrome as. I will give you guys a better definition, however. So imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. And the reason why I was kind of inspired to talk about this now was because even though I graduated university like over 5 years ago, I feel like anytime late August / the beginning of September rolls around, those like exciting but also anxious feelings of starting a new school year or entering a new phase of life or whatever that is just like instantly settles in, and I feel like that probably will never go away. But I know a lot of young girls that watch my channel are either in high school going into university, or university going into their first job, or getting a new promotion or something like that, and I feel like everyone, especially women, will go through this feeling of feeling like they're an imposter in whatever situation they're in, feeling they're an imposter at school or at work, or I don't know, just in a lot of different experiences. And I feel like it also is largely experienced with minorities because we've been told time and time again throughout history that we're not good enough, or that we're not deserving of certain opportunities simply because of the fact that we're a minority. So it's natural for a lot of people to feel this way. Now, before I dive deeper into this topic, I do want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video. They're a longtime partner of mine, and for those of you who don't know, BetterHelp is an online therapy service that is available to you worldwide, and it basically allows you to connect with licensed professional therapists to help you through whatever journey you are taking on in life. For example, imposter syndrome would be an amazing thing to chat about in therapy. And I'll actually, towards the end of this video, give some really great ideas that have helped me with imposter syndrome and what you can kind of do. Therapy is obviously one of them, but there are many, many others. But aside from that, if there is something that you feel like is holding you back in life, if you are going through, a season of depression, if you are just going through a tough time with anxiety or just figuring out ways to cope, therapy is an amazing place to start, and BetterHelp makes it a lot more accessible, not only financially, but also just in the fact that it is online and you can do it literally in the comfort of your own home. So BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. So you can talk to your therapist in a private online environment at your convenience, literally on your couch or your bed if you want. And there's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network that gives you access to help that honestly might not be available in your area. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, and you can get talking to your therapist right away. You just schedule a secure video or phone session, and you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. So you can ensure that whatever you're talking about will not be shared. I feel like this number continually increases anytime I partner with BetterHelp, but there are over 3 million people who have taken charge of their mental health using BetterHelp's therapists. So if you guys want to give it a try as well, you can get 10% off just by using this link, betterhelp.com/Aysha. That's better, HELP help, not health, betterhelp.com/Aysha, and you can get 10% off your first month of therapy and begin your therapy journey. So I will leave that link down below. And moving back into my topic of imposter syndrome, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up. I feel like personally I have struggled with imposter syndrome for many years of my life. I feel like it only increased after, you know, I graduated university and I decided to take on YouTube and social media full time. There were so many points in my career that I just felt like this wasn't for me, like simply because of the fact that I didn't feel deserving of my accomplishments. You know, for example, when I got invited to VidCon for the first time back in 2017, I hadn't even reached 100,000 subscribers by the time that invite came out, and I did not feel deserving of it one bit. I genuinely thought it was a joke when I was told, and up until, you know, I was on that stage, you know, chatting with the people at VidCon, did I even believe that this was going to be a real thing for me. And I think it was because there were so many people that got invited to an event like that I personally felt like were way more accomplished than me, whether it be because they had millions of followers, because that I have been watching them for years and years of my life, and I saw their accomplishments firsthand, and I saw, you know, how amazing their success was, and I was comparing it to mine, and it didn't feel like that I deserved that I deserved to be sitting next to Miss Glamorazzi, who I had been watching for like 10 plus years, in the same panel. It didn't feel like I deserved that. So I genuinely thought someone was playing a joke on me and just invited me because they felt bad somehow. And yeah, I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. I feel like it can happen so often. For example, university. I talked about, you know, starting a new year or going from high school to university. A lot of the times imposter syndrome does happen to people who are overachievers because they constantly feel like they have to continually climb that ladder and continually achieve greater things in order to feel like they deserve whatever outcome they're getting from that, and they may be excelling in every single thing that they're doing, but they still don't feel deserving of that. I feel like a lot of that also comes back to how you were raised, and unfortunately I feel like for minorities specifically, we have this kind of like cloud over our heads of like, if we don't achieve a certain level of success in school, in work, in anything that we're doing, we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to break through that ladder, because time and time again we've been told that we're not deserving of these things. And time again we see the people in power and in higher positions being white men that haven't had to do as much as we have to get to that point. So I feel like it's something that naturally occurs, but isn't talked about as much. And that's what's tricky about imposter syndrome, is the fact that people who are overachievers, people who do experience imposter syndrome, are very rarely going to be open about it, because they feel like they already don't feel deserving, they already feel like a fraud. Them talking about it and sharing those feelings will only light a fire under that. And I feel like that has to shift a little bit, because there are so many influential people who deal with imposter syndrome. I was watching a TED Talk on this a couple weeks ago. Maya Angelou, Albert Einstein, two of the greatest minds that, you know, the world knows, have felt that way. And while I do believe that being humble is extremely important, especially in higher power, I also don't believe that we should be diminishing our accomplishments because we feel like we're not good enough. Just to give you guys a better idea of maybe what imposter syndrome looks like, to see if maybe that's something you're dealing with, I wrote some characteristics down. So, an inability to realistically assess your competence and skills. Attributing your success to external factors such as luck or chance, or, you know, well, this person, you know, doesn't work as hard, so I just naturally got that position. also berating your performance. And this usually happens, you know, when someone is complimenting you and they're saying, wow, you did such an amazing job in so-and-so. And you're just like, oh, no, like I actually, like, you know, I did this and that. And you're just making excuses for that. But really, you're not just like owning your accomplishment in that moment. Fear that you won't live up to expectations. Now, this is something that I mentioned, why it happens in a lot of minority environments. I feel like as minorities, as first generation specifically, you know, our parents have come here, have left so much behind in their, you know, hometowns, in their home countries, that when they come here, they almost put this like impossible pressure on their child. And while it may be out of the goodness in them, because they want to see their, you know, when they want the best for their child, they want to see them win, sometimes it can actually be counterproductive, because now a child has this like this constant fear of living up to your parents' expectations of you. And I can relate to this. I know probably so many people that are watching this can relate to this. And I feel like that is probably the number one reason why a lot of people feel imposter syndrome later on in life. Another characteristic is overachieving, as I've mentioned. I feel like if you don't properly recognize all of your achievements in life, you're just going to constantly be thriving for the next one. And while that may sound like a good thing, it can also lead to burnout, and it can also lead to just being completely overwhelmed with life and, you know, dealing with a lot of mental health issues like social anxiety or performance anxiety or so many other things by being an overachiever. Sabotaging your own success. This one for me personally is like passing up on opportunities because you feel like you're not good enough for them. Whether that's like a panel or someone, you know, a lot of the times I get invited for speeches at universities, and I just feel like, why would they reach out to someone like me? You know, what can I offer? And although I do push through a lot of those feelings of self-doubt, unfortunately gets the best of me, and I have actually turned down opportunities because I feel like I have not been good enough for them. And that's kind of when sabotaging your own success comes in. This can also look like, you know, you see a job promotion and you are recruited for it, or someone at work is, you know, recommending that you apply to it, and you simply don't because you feel like you're not good enough. You feel like you're not going to get it. You feel like you're not qualified enough. Even if you are, you 100% will be qualified for that and are qualified for that, but you feel like inside you're not. And obviously that's not a good thing. That's something that you really have to work on in yourself. Work through it through therapy, work through it through just saying yes to more opportunities in order to not self-sabotage. Self-doubt. Self-doubt obviously is probably the number one, you know, characteristic of imposter syndrome. It's literally feeling like a fraud. It's doubting your abilities regardless of how accomplished you are, regardless of how, you know, perfect you are for that opportunity. It's just doubting yourself. And then setting very challenging goals and feeling disappointed when you fall short. This is also a very real one. I feel like a lot of overachievers will set even higher and higher goals for themselves, and of course when they don't reach those unrealistic goals, they feel a lot more shitty about themselves. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of kind of what imposter syndrome is and the characteristics to look out for, and just a couple tips. I feel like I kind of am your big sister online, and I want to be able to just give you guys valuable information, which is why I wanted to bring this video up, especially at a point like this. Now, one thing I need to preface is that imposter syndrome is not literally a syndrome. It's not a mental disorder. It's more just like a psychological effect in your brain that, you know, forces you or just kind of like hinders your ability to really see through your accomplishments and really acknowledge your accomplishments. I feel like in general it can be really easy to see other people's accomplishments and just look up to them and just feel like, wow, they're doing so much better than I am in life. And I think about this all the time, especially now with social media. I think how they say comparison is a theft of joy. I think that is 1000% true, and it's something we constantly see, because there can be someone in the exact same position as us, has maybe not even accomplished as much, but because you're just seeing it from face value, you just automatically assume that that person deserves way more than you do because you're not sitting there and seeing all of your accomplishments at face value. So I think one thing that I recently started doing, and that I think through, you know, working with an assistant now and kind of framing my career a little bit more structured, it's allowed me to kind of like sit down and have a performance review for myself, like every so often, like 3 to 6 months. I feel like in any job, if you guys are familiar, you usually do performance reviews with your manager, your boss, whatever it is, your supervisor, and it's a great way for them to kind of like see how your performance has been, a great way for you to kind of reflect. And I feel like people need to do that more often in their life in general. Like every 3 to 6 months, sit down with yourself, get a template online, or just write through your feelings in general, and just, you know, list out what your accomplishments that couple months has been, what you're proud of, what you want to achieve in the next 3 to 6 months, what you've done well, what you feel like you could have done better at, and just have an honest conversation with yourself and allow yourself to see on paper what you have accomplished. And say, for example, you feel like you still haven't accomplished anything, ask a friend, because chances are your friends see the good in you a lot more than you may see in yourself, which sounds horrible. Obviously, self-esteem has a lot to do with it. And self-esteem and imposter syndrome isn't necessarily correlated. You can be a very self-motivated, self-respecting, you know, someone with a lot of confidence, and still deal with and still feel like imposter syndrome. I don't think they're necessarily hand in hand, although they can be factors towards each other. But asking a friend will allow you to just kind of like break those boundaries and really see what you have done. And having someone in your corner that just has your best interest at heart and reminding you of all of your accomplishments and everything that they are proud of you for, will really help kind of like fix, or not fix, but help diminish some of that self-doubt that leads to imposter syndrome. Some recent examples of when I felt like an imposter and when I felt like a fraud and like I didn't deserve an accomplishment was, for example, when I launched my merch line. I always felt like, and this is why it's taken me so long to launch merch, I just felt like no one would ever want to purchase something from me, because like why would someone just purchase something that I branded? Or I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it sometimes. That's why imposter syndrome sometimes makes zero sense. Even though people were asking for it, and I've built this large loyal following of my amazing supporters, I just felt like I wasn't deserving of taking that next step and coming out with merch. I felt like no one would take it well. I feel like no one would purchase it. There were just so many feelings of self-doubt and ordering less quantities because I felt like it wasn't gonna sell. But what I didn't let all of that self-doubt do is hold me back and stop me from actually doing what I wanted to do. I poured my heart into that line, and alhamdulillah, like, you guys really ended up loving it, and it kind of like helped diminish some of that self-doubt and those feelings of imposter syndrome. And that's why I feel like imposter syndrome should never set you back. It should never hold you back. I mean, it usually does, because a lot of people pass on opportunities that they feel like they're not deserving of. But once it gets to that point, and when it starts continually, you know, getting to that point, that's when you need to really just deal with it immediately, because that will only hinder your success. It will only hold you back. It will only, you know, prevent you from not only getting over imposter syndrome and that feeling of being a fraud, but it'll just kind of like hold you back in life. And what's the reason of saying no to yourself before someone else can say no to you? It's stopping the chain before it can even continue. Another example of imposter syndrome is honestly continually getting invited to VidCon. I know I keep bringing up VidCon, but basically VidCon is a conference that it used to mainly be on YouTube. Like YouTubers, big YouTubers and stuff would always go to a conference, fans would buy tickets, etc. And it's been going on for over 10 years now. And I've been invited over the last 4 or 5 years. And every single year, without fail, I'm like, why am I here? Why did they invite me? I feel like I'm irrelevant. I feel like no one knows who I am. It still is hard for me to kind of realize that I've gotten to the point where, like, you know, people want to hear from me. People want to hear my experiences and all of that. And I don't know if it will ever change, but it's something that I continually work on. So I feel like if you are feeling like that, just know that a lot of people that you look up to are also feeling like that. Michelle Obama herself, the First Lady herself, has felt imposter syndrome, so imagine the average person. Now, I don't want this video to get too long to the point where I'm not even sharing how to kind of deal with imposter syndrome, what's worked for me, so let's get into it. I feel like the first thing and the most important thing is to share your feelings, is to talk about those feelings of self-doubt, those feelings of being a fraud or feeling like a fraud, of imposter syndrome, because I think the number one thing that people that experience imposter syndrome deal with is not realizing that other people also deal with it. And that's because usually overachievers are not going to share that they're feeling these ways because they don't want to feel scrutinized for it. They don't want to fuel people's fire for, you know, tearing them down or tearing down their accomplishments or what they're working towards. So usually they'll just keep to themselves. But I honestly think that the way for majority of people to understand and feel like they're not alone is if we continually share our feelings. And this doesn't have to be on a public platform. It could be with a friend, it could be with a family member, it could be with your therapist, it could be with a complete stranger on the metro, okay, on the subway. Just sharing those feelings will really help not only release some of those negative thoughts and feelings, but also just allow you to be accountable for what you're thinking, be accountable for those thoughts, and like actively work to get over them. Now, I already briefly mentioned this, but also like assessing your abilities. Writing down all of your accomplishments in the past year, writing down what you feel like you were good at, giving yourself a performance review, as I've mentioned, that will really help get over those negative thoughts as well. Perfectionism is also a key contributor to imposter syndrome and feeling like everything always has to be perfect in order for you to continue on. And that's not true. So I feel like giving yourself that time and that space and taking small steps to get over that professionalism is great. Perfectionism is not. Not everything is going to be perfect in life, and you can't expect it to be. Once you put those expectations, you're only going to let yourself down. So just giving yourself the grace to make mistakes, giving yourself the grace to... There's flaws in life in general, and if there's flaws in some of your work, if there's flaws in whatever thing you are working towards, that is just a part of life. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I mentioned comparison is the theft of joy, and comparing, looking on social media and comparing your life with others, all of that will only lead to a higher level of feeling like an imposter, because like I mentioned, people are only showing their highlight reels online. They're only showing their accomplishments. Rarely do they ever show the times where they don't feel good enough for something. And that's just the nature of social media. The reality is everyone is going through something. Everyone feels like a fraud at one point in their life or not. And they don't share it. They just don't share it. So you comparing yourself to those social media creators or influencers or friends or whatever it is will only continually hinder you. I think also with the age of social media, a lot of people kind of try to portray a lifestyle or an image of something that they really aren't, and I feel like that will only lead to you genuinely feeling like a fraud because you are showing off a fraudulent lifestyle that is not natural to who you are. And I think if that is someone that you know, or if that is you, or that is the type of content you know, consume online, it's important to kind of take a step back from that and reassess, you know, everything in order to stop feeling that way, in order to just live a more genuine life of happiness, of success, of abundance, of gratitude, of grace, of, you know, humility. Also, giving yourself positive affirmations. Telling yourself that you do belong in these circles. I think for me, when I moved to LA and I started going to a lot of events and whatnot, I genuinely felt like I didn't belong. Not only because I was usually the only black hijabi there, or just hijabi in general. I felt very different from how I looked, to how I dressed, to how I talked, to, you know, my beliefs and everything. And I just felt like anything that I could do. I just didn't belong in this scene, and it felt really lonely, I guess, in a way. But I think what helped me overcome that is realizing that the reason I feel like I don't belong is the reason I'm actually there. It's because I'm offering something that all of these people are not, that all of these people can't relate to, that all of these people cannot offer because they're not me. And I think that's how I finally got over like a feeling of not belonging in a space. I think that feeling has also allowed me to grow a lot within myself and kind of put myself in uncomfortable situations that have actually helped with my success, and, you know, talking and engaging in conversations with people that I probably wouldn't have the opportunity to, and sharing my experiences with those people and allowing them to acknowledge the fact that yes, I am different, but I actually do deserve to be here. I do belong here, and I do deserve a seat at a table, and I do deserve to be sitting next to these people that have accomplished many more amazing things than I feel like I have accomplished, because chances are those people are also looking at you and being like, I wonder what, you know, she's done to be invited here. And that may not always be a bad thing. I mean, it could be, you know, it could be someone diminishing your success, but at the same time, I think it makes you a little bit more interesting. Anyways, to sum all of this up, I think that imposter syndrome is a completely normal feeling. I think if you are feeling some sort of imposter syndrome, feeling like you're a fraud in whatever space you're in, feeling like you're undeserving, I think while it can be normal, I don't think you always have to feel that way. I think it's something that you can work through. I think it is something that you should be able to work through. And you should also realize that you do belong. You do deserve everything that is coming to you, because if you didn't, it wouldn't be happening to you. You know, I believe that God wills what He wills, and He does not will what He does not will. So I'm just here to remind you that myself, as well as so many other people, feel this feeling of inadequacy, feel like they don't deserve certain things that they definitely do deserve, and it is normal. It's something that you can definitely work through. I feel like I have gotten to a place where I am a lot more comfortable with my accomplishments, and that I am comfortable with speaking about my accomplishments and acknowledging them, and being in a room full of people where I guess normally wouldn't feel like I belong, but I do belong, and I do deserve that seat at a table. So it's taken me many years to kind of get to this point, and I think it only continues to get better with experience. But if there is one thing that you take from this video, it is to not let feelings of self-doubt hold you back in life. Do not let those feelings of being inadequate or feeling like you're not deserving of things set you back in life, set you from applying to that job, set you from getting that promotion, set you from accomplishing something that you've always wanted to accomplish, starting that business that you've always wanted to start, becoming the creator online that you've always wanted to become. Do not let it hold you back, because that's when you're letting it win. That's when you're letting imposter syndrome take over your accomplishments and win, and you never want that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I would love to continue a series like this, like little late night girl chat videos with you guys. So if you have more topics you'd like me to chat about, leave them down below. Just some ones that I've wanted to chat about and I guess wanted to hear if you guys would be interested in is like finances in your 20s, how to become more independent, how it is living alone as a single female, away from family, etc. I mean, there's so many things that I can talk about, so just let me know in the comments below. And I do want to give myself a quick shout out because there are just a few more of these creamy tan Happy Looks Good on You hoodies left. So if you guys wanted to snag them before they're gone forever, then definitely do. We also recently restocked the brown ones. This will be the final restock of the brown crew necks that say Happy Looks Good on You. So if you guys want to get them for the fall time, there are some left, and I will leave my website down below so you guys can shop it. And there may or may not be a new collection coming out very soon. So before this initial one enters the vintage archives. Can I even call it vintage? Limited edition archives. Never again seen archives. Shop Happy Looks Good on You. at ayshaharun.com down below. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Let me know your experiences with imposter syndrome down below and kind of what you feel like has helped cope. And of course, I will leave BetterHelp's link down below if you guys would like to sign up for therapy. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!